In this video, we're going to talk about how you can create and format sparklines and data bars as an alternative to full charts. When you have a table filled with data, instead of building a chart and a table that would show the same information, an alternative is to make a mini graph inside of the table that can show patterns in the data. Sparklines are mini graphs that can be stored inside of a cell. Sparklines come in different formats like line, column, and win-loss. If you go to the Insert tab of the main ribbon, you can see them in the Sparklines group. That line looks just like a line chart, column looks just like a column chart, and win-loss is like a column chart where positive and negative values are displayed in different colors and in different directions. The benefit of using sparklines is that they are very small, so they can fit in a small amount of space and show patterns in your data directly beside or below your table. They also don't contain chart elements like titles, axes, or legends, and that's how they can take up less space. In general, how you create sparklines is by going to the Insert tab of the main ribbon that I showed you and clicking one of these sparkline options. Once you do that, a little Create Sparklines box will pop out where you select the data range you want to build the visualization from and the location where you want to place the sparklines. Once you've made the sparklines, you'll be able to format them just like we format tables, slicers, and other tools by clicking on the New tab that appears on the main ribbon. You'll then have styles, you'll then have options to show, and even options to change the sparkline type. Another way of creating a mini chart inside of a cell is to use conditional formatting. We've actually already learned about data bars way back in lesson 2-2. They're a type of conditional formatting where you'll add a bar to the background of the cell, and the length of the bar in the background will then be proportional to the cell's value. So data bars essentially look just like a bar chart, but they're stored inside of the cell instead of being their own separate chart with titles, legend, etc. The difference between a data bar and the column sparklines is number one, the orientation. Data bars are horizontal bars, whereas column sparklines are vertical bars. And second is the placement. Data bars are stored directly in the cell that contains the value that the bar represents, whereas sparklines will be mini graphs that are placed inside of a new cell, usually meant to show changes and patterns between multiple values. As a recap for the basic steps of adding data bars, you need to be on the Home tab of the main ribbon, go to Conditional Formatting, and use the data bars options. They've got lots of different fill colors available, but if you click on More Rules, you can create custom colors for your bars. Let's look at an example of how you make both sparklines and use data bars. We're going to be using the quarterly budget data, but I have summarized the data by month and by category. So instead of saying every transaction separately of the 40 in total, I now have the total, for example, in April spent on car payments, or the total spent on electricity in April, etc. What we're going to do first is we're going to insert sparklines here that can show the quarterly trend. That means like the changes in the car payments from April to June, or changes in miscellaneous payments from April to June. In order to do that, you can click anywhere in the spreadsheet, go to the Insert tab of the main ribbon, and press the Line Sparklines button. For the data range, we're going to select all of the values within the table, and for the location range, we're going to select all of these blanks in the quarterly trend column. Then you're going to press OK. And we'll get these little lines. So for example, for car payments that never change, see how the line is flat? It's showing you that there is never a change in that amount. Whereas for something like miscellaneous, it's showing you it starts in the middle, goes down from May, and up in June. If you want to format the sparklines, you can click in any of the cells that contain sparklines, and this new sparkline button will appear on the main ribbon. In the Show option, you can check any of these boxes. One interesting one is high point and low point, where the high points will be highlighted and the lowest point on the line will be highlighted. You can even put them in different colors. For example, if I go to this option, Row Sparkline Style Colorful Number 1, the highest points will be in green and the lowest points will be in red, which makes them stand out a little bit better. We've now finished our first time ever using sparklines, and as you can see, it just made a little mini line chart that makes it easier to see the changes over the month with a picture instead of just looking at the numbers. To show you another type of sparkline, I'm going to go back to Insert, and this time click the Column Sparkline option. I'm going to use the same data range, but this time I'm going to place them below the data to show you what difference this makes. When I made the sparkline lines, these were showing the changes for the 3 months, April, May, and June. When I click the column option, instead, now it is going by the columns here. It is showing the changes for the different categories in April. So all of these bars represent spending in April, and each little bar represents the categories: car, electricity, gas, heat, insurance, etc. So you can clearly see that one is way higher than the other. That is the mortgage amount. As you can see, the column sparklines are stored directly in a cell, and because of that, they don't have labels on what each of the bars are. So it can be a little bit trickier to see which bar goes with which category. But now we've seen how you can use lines to show changes over time, and we've used the column to show differences between categories, our qualitative variable. I also want to change the formatting of the sparkline. I'm going to change them to purple. So if I click on any of the sparkline options, go to the sparkline color option, I'm going to click this purple color, and that's it. Now it's formatted like the rest of my table. So I've done all of these steps. Finally, I'm going to add some data bars. I'm going to select all of the original data within the table, go to Conditional Formatting, Data Bars, and More Rules. The reason I'm going to More Rules is I want to use my purple color again, and press OK. See how these create bar charts. So the pattern from here to here is actually the same pattern that's shown in this cell. The difference is that these are using horizontal bars, this one is using vertical bars, and within this cell here, B72, you see all of the categories, whereas with data bars, each category is stored in its own separate cell to be able to compare them. So this is an alternate way of looking for patterns and differences in spending, but directly within the cell. So each value gets its own bar instead of having basically a mini chart all within inside one cell like the spark lines do. And that is the last other method of visualization we will look at. Sparklines, data bars are both good for looking for patterns in small amounts of space.